Yeah.
I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:09. And I see Megan has joined us too. That's great.
Oh, perfect.
Sorry, yeah, I had computer issues. I don't know. It's bizarre. Of course, it's
Okay. So the first order of business is approval of the minutes from December. Have you had a chance to review them?
I did.
Any corrections or additions?
Nope.
I didn't have any either, other than the fact that was that meeting a special meeting, Mark, or was that a regular meeting in December at the golf course?
Oh, that that would have been a special meeting
That's what I thought, yeah.
because of the time change.
So the title should be changed to special meeting minutes.
Yeah.
I did not see anything to make a correction for the minutes.
The only thing,
Yep.
Elizabeth, sorry, the only thing, because I was trying to take notes and run, answer questions and whatnot, and I didn't capture everything, but the approval of the November meeting minutes, I did not put in who it was moved by and seconded by, and I don't know if anybody remembers.
I think I think that I probably moved it and Mike probably
Okay.
seconded it.
You think Mike seconded it?
I think so. I think I moved it
Okay.
and he seconded.
Okay. All right. And then I'm going to test you a couple more times. Setting the meeting dates for 2026. There was a
Oh, Mark,
motion. Yes.
there are a couple typos. I want to
Okay.
mention that. Yep.
Okay.
So,
Can we get through the who made the motions and then we'll go back to the typos?
oh, I'm sorry. I thought you already moved to next item. Sorry.
Well, we've got a couple of more. There was a couple more motions that I didn't capture
Yep.
who made them and who seconded them. So we're
We're filling in
trying,
blanks.
yeah, trying to, and then we can get back to the misspellings. Thank you. So the next motion that was made was setting the meeting dates, and again, I did not. And because it wasn't recorded, I couldn't go back and capture that. So,
Well, I think Mike and I kind of alternated on it. So
okay.
since he's not here, I'm going to volunteer him as approving of making the motion for the
Okay.
dates.
Okay. And then the last one was the election of officers.
Same thing. We went
Okay.
back and forth.
All right. I'll do you, Elizabeth. Let me pass this on. All right. Thank you, Elizabeth.
And
And
I
my
think we had
recollection
Megan
is,
on the call by then, didn't we?
what's that?
Megan was on that call, wasn't it? Weren't you, Megan?
yeah, I was.
Yes,
I
she
was
was.
Yeah.
Yep, she was
not
zooming.
well, but I was there.
Yes.
Good.
Terry, um, what are the misspelling? Where are the misspellings?
Oh, it's my last name.
Uh,
Oh, an important thing.
okay.
And while you say that, Megan and Terry should be added to the members of the commission as they
Yeah,
have.
I just saw that. I've asked that they've been added already, but it hasn't happened. So I'll make a note to do that again.
Terry, were there other typos that you saw?
Yes. Let me scroll down.
Oh, what's interesting is, Elizabeth, they've been added to they're on the agenda. for tonight's meeting, but
Mhm.
aren't on the minutes.
And yet they had been confirmed for the commission before then, so they should
Yeah,
be on there.
yeah. So I'm not sure what the disconnect is there. I'll have to talk to Lisa Hilton to find out. You would think, I mean, this is like a meeting software program. You would think that if you made a change in one place, it would, make the update in wherever else the names appear. So, uh, all right.
Okay, then I'll take this back to Terry.
Okay,
With us, Mark?
on page 5 of the document, the very last sentence, town manager, Bert. Manager is spelled wrong.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And that's all I have for the minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Megan, do you have anything to add or make corrections on?
Don't, no, they're captured in the conversation.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
So I'd ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the December meeting.
Thank you. Seconded. Is
Yep.
that you, Terry?
And I'll second the motion. Yep.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded to accept the minutes as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Oppose, abstain. Okay, great. Minutes are approved. All right. Going on to the next item on the agenda. Scrolling, I'm getting dizzy scrolling. Okay. Citizens petitions and comments. Mark, have you received any?
Yeah, so I did send out a notice that we just received. It came in last night and I sent it out this morning from Miranda Kraus.
Yes.
And it concerns one of the agenda items under new business.
Mm-hmm. Shall we table it then until we get to the new business?
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Any of the commissioners receive a petition or comment?
Nope.
Okay. Terry, Megan?
I have not.
No.
No, okay. Then we'll move on to town council referrals. Anything, Mark?
No, there are none.
Okay. That takes us to the next item, which is correspondence and communications. Have the commissioners received any correspondence? No?
No.
Nope, nothing other than from Mark.
Okay. And anything else, Mark, besides Miranda's letter?
I did receive a photograph. I received an email yesterday, which was a photograph of a letter written to the town manager, requesting that the vinyl that we had put on the lower half of the windows in the fitness room.
At Thrive or at?
I'm sorry, at Thrive, yes.
Yep.
That those they were removed because they were peeling, and the vendor was going to put new ones up. And the letter went to the town manager requesting that the vinyl covering over the windows of the two sets of lower windows in the exercise room where the equipment is, that they not go back up. And so we are not going to be putting that those vinyl the vinyl back up on the windows. That
Is
was
that's the one that faces the driveway?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And they gave a few different reasons why they felt like the vinyl covering on the windows wasn't appropriate, and so we've instructed the vendor not to bother replacing it.
Do you know why it was there in the first place?
Yeah, we received some ARPA money. It was a grant, and part of that was we were doing some branding in the building, and one of the recommendations was to put some color in those windows. It was the lower half of the windows. They probably are off the ground, maybe, I don't know, 3 feet. And we had put some of the branded colors in other places, but uh, this seemed to, this one particular person felt it was not appropriate to have those colors in the exercise room.
Well, we'll see if we get a request to replace it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's been very little feedback on all the things. Elizabeth, you're there every day. You've seen what we've done, and um, there hasn't been many comments. But
Well, I think what it is people are being polite.
okay,
I can tell you the comments I've heard have been
yeah.
that it reminds them of the elementary school they went to when they were children.
Uh, okay,
The rest of it's great, but the vinyl on the windows really kind of,
yeah.
I didn't hear anyone say they liked it,
Okay, all
but I
right.
think they're just kind of
Yeah.
indifferent to it. But that was
Well,
the
nobody
comment.
nobody likes change.
Well, and I think because we're older than many of the people doing the designing, they don't
Yeah,
realize it looked just like an elementary school
yeah, yeah,
of the 60s. So I would leave it alone.
yeah.
I don't know, Terry, have you heard more?
I'm sorry.
Have you heard anything more about the colors? The vinyl on the windows? Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right, well, we'll wait and see if there's any more feedback on that.
Yeah.
Anything more, Mark?
No, those were the only two, um, I would say, significant correspondence.
Okay, fair enough. Then we'll move on to the reports. Mark, your report?
Okay, so I don't really have anything to add to the director's report that was submitted as part of the agenda packet. I don't know if there's any questions that people have on the content.
I just was interested in the Nature Conservancy funding. Is that the parking lot on where the little parklet is?
No, this is the large parking lot on the other side by Palmer's Cove. So if you're headed towards Groton Long Point, it's the parking lot on the right.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great project.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. It's been at least 4 years since the original conception of that project and the funding application. Oh, there's Mike.
Yep.
Hey,
Um,
I
Hi,
thought
Mike.
it was fine, but all good.
Um, yeah, so it will be a great project, and we've got a meeting with a couple of staff from the Nature Conservancy and town staff, I think on February 5th, to kind of go over the project. There was a lot of funding hurdles. It was funded through HUD, which is kind of, from what I understand, rather unique. And there was, with the change in leadership in Washington, there's I think been a lot more scrutiny over what projects are funded, but this finally passed all the hurdles, and now we can start moving forward. And I don't have at this time I don't have a timeline of when this would take place. We would certainly coordinate it outside of the summer season to minimize disruptions.
Sure. Thank you. Mike, do you want to take over?
Sure. Where are we? Just give me
We are on the director's report. Mark was just answering a question that I asked. I don't know if there are others about his report.
Okay. Mark, can you give a rundown of the report for everyone?
Well, there wasn't sometimes I have additional information to share outside of what was presented in the report, but at this particular meeting, I don't have any additional information to share outside of what's in the written report.
Okay. Other commissioners, does anyone have anything they wanted to ask on the report? I had one question, I think, but other commissioners first.
So this is Terry. When I was reading the report, I noticed that on page 10, there's a small box about MIC storytelling, but is missing somehow, missing some text.
Oh, yeah.
And then down below there's a picture, but then the picture was linked to AARP.
Yeah, it did get cut off.
I think you might have tried to embed something, but when you do conversion from Word to PDF, it may not have carried over.
Yeah, I think the AARP paragraph is a standalone. There really isn't anything to go with that. The open mic storytelling kind of spills on to the next page, but you are right, Terry, that that box there is some material that or a sentence or two that got cut out.
Right. And I also noticed some spelling, not that I'm trying to catch typo. As I was reading it, I just happened to see them, that's all. So you may want to, I don't know, do a spell check or something.
Yeah, we usually do.
Okay, like on page 8.
Work on our spelling. Yeah.
So for example, page 8, irrigation system. And then next paragraph, the parking lot adjacent to Palmer's Cove adjacent. Do you see that?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other feedback from our commissioners on the report or questions?
Don't have any others. Thank you.
So Mark, just two things. One, I saw a note in the report. There was kind of like we had talked about the dogs on the beach and everything. So it seems like kind of everyone came to a consensus. And I think what I took away, I want to make sure that I read it correctly, was that similar to other places around here during the, I'll call it quote unquote summer season, which usually like Memorial to Labor Day type time frame. That time frame, dogs are not allowed at all on the beach, and the rest is kind of on leash, normal. Is that a good summary of that synopsis?
Yes, that is correct. And we're working on updating the signs and also we'll be putting out social media posts explaining the change. And so that will take effect. We looked at what other communities were doing, the calendar that they were using, and it's pretty much from like April 1st to I think October 1st.
Mhm.
Is when most of the other communities, um, the state doesn't specify exactly when, they just say during the swimming season. And most of the other communities have started it right around, like I said, I think April 1st to um, the end of September or 1st of October.
Yeah,
Why would they go with October 1st when really we're not talking people swimming in the water, we're talking people walking on the beach. October is a warm month.
oftentimes that season is dictated by nesting shorebirds to ensure that they've fledged by the time that the dogs come back on the beach, particularly the early part, the April part. You could even push that a couple weeks into like the last week of March type of thing.
Mark, October is a really nice beach month in Groton. I don't understand why they would allow dogs
So
there
you'd
when it's
want
going
to
to be a
push it
lot of people
later?
on the beach. Yeah, like
Yeah,
November
to like
1st.
November
Yeah,
1st.
yeah.
I mean, I guess I'm personally opposite. I'd rather have it go from May 1st through September 30th. To me, I think they're trying to keep the dogs out of the core swimming water, right? Like, think about it. If you had a dog, most people do swim with their dogs, right? It's not like, I mean, I get it. If there's a nesting season going on there, that in that specific beach, then that should be considered. That's 100% agreeable. Not to my knowledge, there is any nesting at the Esker Point Beach. Now, maybe I'm wrong. So, like that's something that I would say we should take into account. But otherwise, I think you got to balance the majority of the crowd at the beach to who's going in the water. So I agree, October's there, but I doubt you see a lot of people going in the water in October compared to what you see in August. So I think you got to balance the people's rights to accommodations. And so I think 100% dogs to be on a leash all the time. I think that's a good one, right? But I think you got to balance the summer season. So thanks for the ruling, Mark. My take for you would be May 1st through end of September, but whatever you think is best.
Okay.
And then the only thing I think I had, Mark,
I have to push back, Mark. I think Megan has raised a good point about the wild birds, and they're so endangered. I mean, we need to make some accommodation for them too. I'm back. I really think April.
I agree. And I think also, even if they're not nesting, they could be resting and foraging along the shore. And it's just, I think, I mean, I definitely I'm a dog owner. I understand the balance, but I do think it's, I think going with the time frame that other towns have suggested, April to October sounds reasonable to me.
Mark, do we know if there are birds there? Like, do we know that for a fact?
I don't think we know it for a fact, but I think Megan brings up a good point that, they may not necessarily be nesting, but they could be stopping over. And we have, over the last 10 years, the beach grass, we've expanded that quite a bit.
Exactly. Looks really good. Yeah.
And the reason we did that was to try to protect the beach, because that's not a natural location for a beach. And so putting in the beach grass, the purpose was to help protect the beach from erosion, and it's really thrived there. And we've probably doubled what was there just 10 years ago. But to answer your question, no, Mike, I am not.
Okay.
I can't say with 100% certainty that year after year there are, piping plovers or some other bird species that are nesting in there.
Yeah, that would just be my take. Is if we had something like that, I think that definitely want to consider that. But if that's not a true factor, right? Like we're pushing something earlier for something that really has little effect. And I don't know if it does. So that's what I was just
Right.
saying. We should.
Well, we
I
have
think
different
Landscape,
ideas.
no.
yeah,
Why don't we just vote? We all have different ideas.
good
Do we
point.
need to vote? Because it's a commission thing. That's, I guess, my question to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I could take all of this under advisement. One of the things I was thinking is perhaps I could reach out to the Audubon, because I know they do bird counts and studies, and they may have some information that might help guide, my decision on exactly when to do this.
Yeah, I would almost recommend if we want to vote, you'd get that info mark first, so that we can make an informed decision. And if we want to make a vote next meeting, we could definitely do that. I think it would help all of us make a informed decision because my decision personally might sway depending on the facts that come back. So all the others kind of weigh in before we say that that's the gospel.
Okay.
I also think that the Connecticut Nature Conservancy would have some figures as well.
Okay.
Certainly, and again, it's all, yeah, I think it's, even if the nesting isn't occurring, it's the other life cycle stages and inviting, creating habitat or managing habitat to balance the uses of recreation and wildlife is ideal. So I think this all seems reasonable to me to get the input from others, and we can discuss next meeting.
Well, I for one know that there's a lot more birds along that shoreline than there used to be. There's a lot
That's,
of the
yeah.
catchers now. There's a lot of terns. They never used to be around. They're all over the place now.
Yeah, and you look at where that sits from a landscape position, and you've got, Haley Farm to the north and the whole Bluff Point complex, Fisher's Island. So it's definitely a very active area landscape wise, just geographically.
Yeah.
Granted, it's a small zone, but how it sits in the larger landscape is important too.
So this is Terry. I go to Bluff Point Beach quite a bit. They actually have some very specific signs, and I assume we have very similar shoreline birds. They actually have signs that says from this point to that point, no dogs allowed. So would that be a good reference for us? Because I can find out too, if you guys want.
Yeah,
But
we actually
Bluff
have,
Point is a state park.
right. We actually have signs in the grass itself and along the edge, letting people know that but unfortunately, not all dog owners are responsible dog owners.
Yeah.
And, they let their dogs off leash and the dogs just run everywhere. And, so even with signs, we're not able to control the dog owner behavior or
Yep.
direct dog owner behavior in a positive way.
That's the crux a lot of a lot of this, I think.
Yeah, and I do think I think there are a lot more places for dogs to recreate than there are for birds to nest, shorebirds to nest. And I'm a dog owner myself, so it's not like I'm not anti-dog.
Right.
Would it help at all going forward with the signs you do end up putting up to direct people to the dog park?
Yeah, we could. I mean, there's not a place for them to swim there, which,
True.
dogs love to swim, but maybe we could, figure out a way to direct people to other locations where dogs could swim, like across the street. There's a canoe and kayak launch at Palmer's Cove right by the edge of that parking lot, and there's no, or I won't say no, I'll say there's little motorized boat traffic because boats, for the most part, can't get in underneath the bridge that goes to Groton Longpool. So I would consider that a safe place for dogs to go swimming.
So that would give an alternative that might help too.
Yeah.
Good suggestions. I think all of them. I think we could make an informed decision next time because as much as I don't want to push it back further, if there's some, natural habitat, maybe that it should be earlier or later too. So I think having the facts lets us make a good decision.
Yeah.
Good point.
Hang on. And Mark, it looked like there was a bunch in the report. There was a bunch of, I'll call it furniture, but like picnic tables, benches. It looks like the park staff is redoing a bunch of those, maybe like resanding them, refinishing them. So it sounds like what I took away from that is that there might have been a bunch that were taken in for the winter, similar like the golf course does. They're going to be refurbished and then redistributed to said parks around the community in the spring. Is that a good assessment?
Yeah, they're all wooden, they're metal frames with
Yep.
wooden tops and benches or seats, and they do deteriorate over time, and so sometimes they have graffiti on them. So depending on the condition, we'll either replace the board or sand it down, to get rid of try to get rid of the graffiti. And yeah, and that's something that we do on an annual basis, along with, like repainting the trash barrels that are out in the parks because the paint peels and chips and gets scraped as they get moved around. And yeah, so it's just kind of ongoing annual maintenance of, some of the amenities in the parks.
Okay, I think that's good. I just want to make sure that we do that maintenance, which is a good thing. Appreciate it, and then we just that where they came out of, they get an equivalent back in the spring. I just want to make sure. So as long as
Oh,
we're good.
yeah.
All right. So we'll move. Mark, and I'd like to just jump back real quick. Approval of meeting minutes. I assume that we had enough people to do it earlier to
We
take care of
did,
that.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all taken care of.
And then in citizens petitions and comments, just to jump back, because sorry, I thought the meeting started at 5:30, was there was two comms that I had received, and we might have talked about them. One was the one that came in earlier, Mark, today. I think it went to all the commission members for the letter we're going to talk later. I don't know if we mentioned that at all.
Yeah, I did bring that up, and at that time, Elizabeth said, we could include that in the discussion under new business for the proposed letter to the town council.
Perfect. And then I had gotten, and Mark, you might have gotten this too. I don't know if it just went to me or other commission members to be transparent to everyone. I mean, I have this giant letter that came in the mail from someone named Jeff Richards. And it was really dealing with the Mystic Oral School site. Did anyone else get that? Or was it just me? Mark, did you get a copy of this?
Nope.
Oh, yeah, actually, I think I did. And was that an email or a letter proposing putting together some kind of board or commission to make the oral school property a park?
So
Was that
sort of.
Okay.
So I mean, I can scan this in for everyone tomorrow if people want it, but like, and I actually called the guy. I called Jeff. He actually sent it to my house, and then I talked to him for a little bit. And really, I'll say it didn't really have a lot of meat and potatoes on it, but really what the wishes were is that hey, his vision, we'll say, was to take the oral school and make it into some giant, almost like I don't want to call it a state park, but like a town park where it'd be like acres of hiking trails and all this stuff. Didn't really have a lot in tactically into like how would you pay for that? Would you team with someone? I talked to him a little bit about hey, to redo the fields is in the 30 to 60 million dollar range to do that type of park, and what you're proposing is probably in the $100 million range in a realistic sense of refurbish the pool, redo buildings, like all good ideas, but lots of capital. Like that's thousands of dollars per taxpayer. Like, did you think about that? Did you have like a thought on partnership with someone? Didn't really. His vision was he just really wanted to have an open space for to be used, which isn't a bad vision, but it did, I think, lack a lot of implementation costs. So what I had mentioned to him is, hey, when we do the next, and I don't think the town owns the land right now; it's still owned by the state, from my understanding. If we do like I know every couple of years we do like a master plan and update. What I mentioned to him and said, hey, I'd mentioned in the commission meeting is that if we do one of those in the future, maybe years until we do it, not sure, but it might be good to consider that as like should that be future space for parks and rec to get from the state. Not saying it should or shouldn't. I think it should just be part of, if we do a future study, it would be something to look at. think there's a lot of costs associated with it that, quite frankly, scare me personally. But I think it would be good as part of a future study to put on the table this, as all cards in. That's what I took away. And again, if anyone wants it, I can send you this 10-page letter. But yeah.
And it did also go to the town manager.
Yeah, it went to a lot of people. It went to like bunch of different 8 commissions. The town manager went to a bunch of people. I mean, it wasn't a bad idea, but again, it didn't. This was like what I would consider a house concept sketch, not even an architect sketch for a house. It's very like I have an idea. Let me show you my idea. Got to start somewhere, but lacked a lot of the tactical next steps. Which I mean, you got to start with an idea. So, but yeah. Any questions from any commissioners? I just wanted to share that because it did come to me.
I
Nope.
think it's a good thing to keep in mind. I agree with you there.
That was what it was.
Definitely a
Right.
topic du jour.
All right, so we'll go to golf course then, Mark. We'll go back to the regular agenda. I don't know if you wanted to brief anything. There was some info in the packet, so Mark, I'll let you go, and then I'll open up for any questions for anyone. I know that we're deferring the kind of joint meeting to next month, I believe, also.
That is correct. Yeah, I just wanted to share with the commission information that was shared with the Golf Advisory Board, just so that you're kind of all working on the same plane. There's a number of different reports in there. And again, it was just to begin to provide the commission with some background information in going through the process of determining rates for 2026.
Mark, would you mind just letting us know what we have here?
Sure.
I see a year-to-date, I think the first two is a year-to-date budget report. That's it. I don't want to get into specifics, so it looks like we're going to cover it next time.
Okay. So I did, one of the items I sent was a summary of findings from the golf course fund balance. So that was just to give you a picture of where we started at the beginning of fiscal year 2024 and where we ended up at the end of fiscal year 24 with a fund balance. So that was one of the documents.
Okay.
And yes, there was a year-to-date report, and that was for 2025. And essentially, that just shows you, it's actually kind of an end-of-the-year report. It's what we,
okay.
it's what
right. So this
we
is
spent and
right.
the percentages
Okay.
for
We're
all
in
of the
2026 now, right?
We are, yes,
Okay.
and so I don't have an end of the year report for 2026 This was for
Obviously
2025,
not.
just to give you an idea of what we spent in 2025.
Okay. So then after
that's
that
the
comes
year-to-date report.
There's another year-to-date report here that has a bunch of negative numbers in it. It was like three or four pages. Oh, that's also 2025. Okay, I got that. All right.
And then there's also a current year, and this was what we've spent through our projections for 2027. So it's got actuals to date for 26 and projections for 27.
Okay, what period is that through for 26, Mark?
It's through, we had to submit this January. So this is through the middle of January.
Okay.
So we'll say for the first 6 months of the year. So July
So first 6 months. Okay.
Yeah, July 1 through the middle of January, depending on where finance is with the inputting. And I think I've said before, the revenue tends to run a month behind because what they do
Right.
is they wait for the report from the bank to come back to finance. They check the daily deposits to make sure they all balance with what the town sent into the bank, and then that revenue gets
Yeah. Okay.
reported. So it's always like a month behind.
Yeah.
But
All right. So, because
expenses,
if I look at grounds maintenance, for example, I see a 26 budget of like 1.2 million and then 650,000 for an actual. So that makes sense. It's mostly
yeah,
salary. It would be
yeah,
half the year. Okay, I got it.
yep. And then
All right.
I sent there's the proposed or the 25 rates. So I wanted, and that has what it was in 24 and what
Yeah.
it was in 25. And so I just wanted to share that so folks could see what had taken place, between 24 and 25, which
Are you sure those numbers are right in there?
um,
'Cause
they they
remember
should.
for residents, it was the town council said 5 to 7% increase, and then the golf course went with a 7% increase. If I look at adult economy for resident 2024, right? And then I look
Yeah,
at the 25 resident of 1520 divided by 1280 is 19% increase. Are the
okay. Jim, I'll check those, but
Yeah, why don't you check those? Because that'll
I
be
will.
important to get that right. I thought we had it
Yep.
right. That we were at 7% for the town people. Yeah.
Okay. I will check that.
Yeah, just check those numbers again. And I
Okay.
remember the non-resident was in the 20s. It was in the low 20s. So we'll just, why don't you just check those before we get into it next month? Let me know if you want to send me an email on that. Go ahead too.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
If you get to it before the meeting.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. And then I also included the revenue for December. That
Right,
was
the
in.
monthly report. Right,
Yeah,
right, right.
you see that every year. So I mean every month. So
Okay.
those that's what I sent
Got
along,
it.
and
All
I
right.
also sent the proposed capital improvement projects.
Yeah, that was clear to me. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
Okay.
So let me just to get some background. Last year there was that big meeting with town council in February. I guess that was sort of like the budget meeting. Or
Uh,
is the meeting we're having in February with the golf advisory board a prep for that?
yes.
Okay.
And we'll go. And actually, I think the meeting with the town council was in March. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And so we're kind of on the same schedule that we usually are.
So are you going to give the golf advisory board like some kind of parameters? Are they going to propose fees in the meeting in February?
Yes, they have a meeting coming up on Monday night, and they will be proposing fees, and that proposal will be sent to the Parks and Rec Commission, and then there's a joint meeting in February. The next scheduled Parks and Rec Commission meeting. I don't remember the date.
Okay.
February 25th or something.
So do you expect it to be just a fee increase for inflation or some kind of catch-up year again like last year?
I, I don't know, Jim. I suspect that it's probably inflation, but I don't have a clear picture on what the Golf Advisory Board, what their recommendations could be.
Well, I'm just saying that because I hate to have a repeat of next year or last year when like, Eric and Todd went in there, you guys went in there, and the town council was a little irritated with these fee increases, remember? And they gave you the parameters. Why would we should have some kind of sense either through the town manager or what they're willing to accept again before
Right.
somebody goes like half baked into some huge like revenue increase, and
Yeah.
we go through the same thing again.
Yeah. Well, I think the council was pretty clear on kind of the boundaries of what they expected. And as you mentioned, you talked about 5 and 7, and I certainly would not expect increases beyond that because, quite frankly, I don't want to go through what we had to go through last year.
Right.
Uh,
So should we expect, it would probably make the meeting a lot easier if they came in with something they expect that the town council will accept, right?
oh yeah, that's
Us.
definitely will be part of the consideration, I'm sure, because um, and as soon as I have that information, which would be Monday night, I can certainly send it to the commission um, well in advance. So you've got plenty of time to look at it and um, consider it before we have the joint meeting.
Yeah, because in the end, it didn't seem to matter what the commission, what the golf advisory board thought. In the end, it was town council made the call,
Yeah, and
So
I would
why is everybody spinning their wheels when we should know the answer?
right, and I would say that I think last year was rather unique, and I think what made it unique was um, what was what came out in the report.
Right.
So like I said, I don't expect
Yeah.
to have the same kind of have to go through the same process as we did last year.
Okay. And are we going to talk about the software with the golf advisory board? And I think you said that we're going to get rid of this new one and go to something else, or
Yeah, we've actually put out an RFP already. I had Mike gave me some great feedback. I had Margaret from the Golf Advisory Board. She had some suggestions. A lot of different people have looked at it, and we are moving forward with selecting a different software that better meets
does the
the
town
needs.
council know that 1 year later we don't really have anything to show? We have a software
Um,
package we don't like, and we spent a bunch of money and time on it. And
I'm sure that the town council is aware of that because the town manager has reviewed the RFP also. So I'm sure he updates the council regularly on what's going on.
so they know that there's no point of sale piece 1 year later. And the one thing Councilor McBride said was we need to have a cancellation and we need to have a system that collects money for people that don't show, blah, blah. We don't have any of that, right?
Yeah, that's what we're working towards. Right.
So when you say that's okay, so you're going to go into that meeting in March saying that it didn't work out the way we thought, and we're going to
Yeah,
start over again.
I'm sure that question will come up and we'll be well into the process at that point of bringing it, bringing in a new software.
Okay, all right. I just have one other thing. In the draft application letter for the pass holders, remember that verbiage on the bottom of that application said that they remember we used to, or we currently have a policy where pass holders get an hour before non-pass holders to make their reservations, right?
Yeah.
And that was put on the bottom of the application form. And I was told, I think by you several months ago through Eric, that that was just a proposal.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I would
feelings
expect,
on that for, all these months later, or,
I would expect that that would be one of the conversations that the Golf Advisory Board and the Parks and Rec Commission has
okay,
with a recommendation.
okay. And
Yeah.
then,
And the only reason that we put it in there was because I didn't want to get into a situation where somebody signed up and then said, oh, well, this was a change from when I signed up. So I said we could do this next year so that nobody was surprised. Uh, it wasn't, we were definitely going to do it. It was, this could happen. And I just wanted people to be aware so that they, like I said, so they weren't surprised when they went to renew. So I had to do it far enough ahead that anybody signing up would have known in advance.
okay. All right. Yep. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mark, I didn't want to get into facts and figures either. I just had three questions, so I just understood the data. On page, I think it's 17, when it says appropriations, I assume that means that that's what you've budgeted for the golf course, for example, under like 3 FY23 budget performance.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then,
And I do want to, if you look at the bullet under expended and it says overspent by 159,678. So what happened was when we went to the council, we had proposed to fund the CIP through general fund balance. During the course of the budget review, council said no, that money was going to come from the golf course fund balance. So when we had put our golf course budget together, we had not included the 200,000 for the coming out of the golf course fund balance. So when that got approved, they added $200,000 to the budget, which we had not planned for. So it looked like we had overspent by 159,000 when in fact it was an accounting switch that took place after or during the budget process. I don't know if that makes sense.
okay.
But yeah, we did not, Eric did not go and spend $159,000 more on materials and supplies or anything like that. It was just where money got moved from. And yeah.
Receipts, Mark, I assume that that's basically the money that the golf course generated from cart sales, tournament sales. That receipts is just the money they took in from various sources. Is that true?
Right. And we had originally budgeted, our estimate was 1,731,000, and we actually brought in receipts of 1,664,000. So it was a shortfall of $66,000.
Okay. And does that include, and I don't know how this is budgeted. So par 4, right? I believe the town owns the building, the
Yes.
clubhouse. I assume
And
the
they
par
pay
4
rent.
they pay rent. Is that included in that receipts number?
Yes.
Or is that a
Yes.
separate?
No, that's included.
All right. And then the last thing I had is the fund balance, the unreserved. I know we
Yeah.
talked about, is it 900K? And then we talked about, I call it a quote unquote 6-month fund. A certain amount of budget we got to keep in that fund. Is that 900K total in the account, or 900K that's, I don't want to say play dollars, but like we can choose what we want to do with?
No, if you flip over to if you go to page 18.
Yep.
So the information continues. So from the 904,
Yep.
We've got a 60-day operating reserve, which is 332.
Okay.
And so that brings
Okay.
down
450.
Yeah, so we've actually got 451, 442.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I understand. Others questions on the golf course one before we go to fields?
Yes, I've had my hand up for a while. Mark,
Sorry.
the document that you have entitled Proposed 2025 Rates, should
Yeah,
that just be 2025 rates? The proposal was made last year.
yeah,
The reason
you're
being
right.
I got confused reading it.
Oh, okay.
So I just dropped the proposed in
Yep.
that title for clarity.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Anyone else? All right. Mark, Trails Coordinating Task Force.
Yeah, we haven't had it. They meet quarterly, and we haven't had a meeting since December.
Athletic Fields.
I think the deadline for submissions for requests for qualifications is the 30th. So I think that's this Friday. And at that point, Public Works is kind of managing this project, and they'll send out a list of um, who responded, and there's a kind of an interview committee that will look over the proposals. They'll meet, look over the proposals, they'll get scored, and there'll be a short list developed of who we'd like to come in and do a presentation. And then from that, there'll be a selection made of who they want to negotiate with on a price. So next week we should have the list of those consultants that submitted a proposal, and then from there we'll start the process of whittling them down.
I have two updates for you too, Mark. I had
Okay.
an action from one of the previous meetings to try to dive into the joint use of like the fields. We'll just call it like the tech high school we had talked about as well. So I've been in
Yeah.
contact with Dan G, one of our kind of a local state Stoker Rape. I think it's Whiskey. I'm not sure how to say his name, but he's a really nice guy.
Oh, yeah.
Talked to him. And he's digging in. He's been talking to the CT tech schools legislation, and so he's going to get back to me a little bit on kind of like what do we need to do, what's the rules and regs. So he's getting himself educated. So more to come, but the idea was I was saying, hey, how come we can't have a joint use of those fields? How can we make that happen? So he's working to see from a CT standpoint what can we do. More to come.
Oh, that'd be great. We have tried over the years, and it's that what we were told is the superintendent of the school, the principal couldn't make those decisions. They had to go to someplace in Hartford
Yep,
to make those decisions. That's what we were told, and it was just uh, you know too cumbersome to.
understand.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked him to help out. I said,
Yeah.
it seems like we're shooting ourselves in the foot here. Can you help out from the state level? Like, what do we need to do? What conversations really need to occur? Do we need to
Yeah.
be involved? Can you help us? Like, he's digging in, so more to come. But my
Great.
hope is that he brings up to a level that the logic appears right, and then we figure out how do we actually execute it, and then that flows down to you and to you of like this is what you got to do tactically. Hey, that's what the hope is. We'll see what comes out. So.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
I did also ask, and I just sent it out to all the commissioners. I get some emails from just the local politicians of like, what went on in the last month. And Connecticut, I just sent it to everyone now. No one probably saw it, but there was a bunch of grants that went out for all the different towns, and I think there's like 20 towns on here. And I had sent them. I said, hey, like Groton got some money for education research for Project O. Ledger got some money for the police department. There's a bunch of stuff. Stonington got some for unused transferring unused property to a community park. I said, hey, could we apply for some of this for maybe like the round two of fields? It seems like it's state money that comes in. It seems like it was $12 million for 15 projects. I said, how do we do that? And he came back to me and said, someone through the town will have to reach out to Congressman Courtney's office. The grants coordinated through federal funding backed by the second congressional district. And he gave me an email. So I'll shoot that over to you, Mark. But it may be an
Okay.
opportunity that, like, you, probably your level could reach out to them and say, hey, the town did a bond or referendum. We agreed
Yeah,
to it, but there's more phases. Does the state have an opportunity to look? Maybe you submit some stuff. Maybe we get it next year. I mean, hey, if it's, I don't want to call it free money because our tax dollars, we all paid for it. But if it's money that we can get to do something good for the town that, came from CT taxpayers, like give it a shot. So,
sure. Yeah. And I do know that you mentioned Project Oceanography. We are working with them on some spring programs or maybe even summer programs to bring kids through the grant funding that they got out on one of their boats. So we are benefiting from what Project O got for money because I know they've reached out to us. Yeah. Okay.
anyone else on Fields questions from the commissioners? All right. Monthly report. Is that
Yeah, I don't know. I have not been putting these agenda packets together. And unfortunately, there's been some things that have cropped up that just aren't. So, like the monthly report and the golf course, they shouldn't be in. They were already in there once, so I'm not sure why they showed up again.
So we'll skip. Unfinished business. I didn't have anything here, Mark, unless you or any other commissioners had anything that should be here that wasn't.
Yeah, I didn't have anything.
All right, new business. Seems like I think we had last meeting. I remember there was a discussion for the December meeting to, I believe, change to a week earlier. But Mark, can you talk about that? And I think we then need to, as a commission, vote if we all agree and it makes sense. I think it sounded logical last meeting, but maybe Mark, give what it was, and then we can move to vote if we need to.
Sure. So at the last meeting, the commission had approved the December meeting date of 12/23, and Terry asked if that could be changed, if it could be changed. I don't think Terry proposed a new time or a new date. So I guess at this point, it's up to the commission to have that discussion and make a recommendation either to keep it on the 23rd or to move it to a different date.
Yeah. So, commissioners' thoughts. I mean, I kind of see his point, right? 2 days before Christmas, people are traveling. I think it would make sense. I think this year we did it earlier. I think something like the 16th would be more probably reasonable, but thoughts from commissioners over.
I agree. Moving it earlier, a week earlier, is a good idea. 23rd is not a good idea.
And I
agree
second
with
that.
moving
My
it.
December 16 looks good.
Yeah,
And that was it.
yep, fine with that.
Was it, Mark? Was the meeting proposed at 5 right now, or what was the time on the 23rd?
Yeah, 5.
So, and it's virtual, correct? In the current proposal.
Yeah, I don't think we had planned an in-person meeting for the 23rd.
So I think what I hear from everyone, and we'll take a motion before we kind of do it, but I think I hear the proposal on the table is the 16th at 5 p.m. And that's what we're going to make the motion to. Any objections to that before we make the motion?
Nope.
All right. So I'll make a motion that we're changing the December meeting from the 23rd at 5 p.m. to the 16th at 5 p.m. That's the motion on the table.
All right.
I'll second the motion.
Seconded, yeah.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. So Mark, that should just be a regular scheduled meeting then, just with a
Yes.
change, I think.
Yep.
And it's well enough in advance now. People have plenty of notice. So
Right.
kitchen supervisory position. I think Elizabeth, you want to talk to this, so I don't know if you want to talk to it.
Yes,
Or Mark,
I
but
can take it from here. Because actually the agenda item that I submitted was for the Coastal Cafe staffing overall. As many of you know, the Coastal Cafe is central to the well-being of our seniors and other members of the community. And with some of the staffing issues we've had in the past 18 months, there have been periods of time when no food was available. That has been resolved. Thank you. The kitchen supervisor is Lynn Manza, which is wonderful. Everyone's thrilled about that. And the part-time food service worker, who's I think 19 hours, who's Mariska Santiago, I think is her last name, which left us with one part-time open position, which was being filled by volunteers, but that's always a shaky proposition. And at the time I made this suggestion for the agenda, the position wasn't posted. I'm happy to say it's posted now. And then maybe, Mark, have you had any applications for that position?
I'm not sure. All applications go to human resources, and I don't know what the closing date for accepting applications was. I think it only recently got posted, like within the last week. Normally it's 2 to 3 weeks. So it could be, depending on when human resources put it up, posted the position. It could be, I'm sure it's not this Friday. Actually, I might be able to look it up. It could be next Friday. Let's see if I can. Oops. Let's- yeah, I don't want to hold everybody up while I'm looking for this.
So Elizabeth, while he's looking, like, is there? It sounds like you had a good concern. Sounds like we've overcome the concern now, which is a
No,
good thing.
not really. Not really
Okay.
yet, Mike.
So yeah,
Until that
is there
position
something we
is
can help?
filled. We had a couple of days this past month into December where the only food available was sandwiches because of shortages in staffing. And I'd like to keep this on the agenda for the commission until the position is filled, just to keep watching to make sure it gets done. Because with fixed income, the Thrive 55 customers, as well as other members of the community, really count on the Coastal Cafe for their meals. And on Friday, they will stock up in order to have food over the weekend. So I really want to keep this in our agenda until it's resolved.
Sure. Is there a way you think, and let me ask, so like obviously like, HR is gonna have to go do their resume things, Mark, and you have to get through everything, but is there an ask on the table from you, Elizabeth, like that you think you need help in the interim and where my head is kind of pointing to, and I don't know what's possible or not, but like, right, so the golf course kind of like the maintenance, goes down in the winter, there's stuff that goes on behind the scenes, but if there's an ask on the table, right, maybe there's an interdepartment opportunity. Mark would have to answer this, but to borrow or lend some people from the golf course to you in the interim to help out. I don't know if there's an ask on the table, but it sounds like you had a concern, so I'm coming up with a potential solution if you think that's needed. Open for discussion. Don't know what's possible.
From my perspective, Mike, I think we have a fairly good supply of food service retirees
Yeah.
who are helping out now. But the problem is that's not a reliable source of staffing. They fill in when they can. So I don't know if you can actually move people from the golf course, for instance, to the Coastal Cafe. I don't think there's a similarity between those work environments.
Okay. I was just suggesting as a stopgap, but it sounds like you have your stopgap in there. You just want to keep it on here. So we gotta get the long-term solution kind of
Yes, yeah,
figured out.
Yeah, and Elizabeth, I think the times that you're referring to when there was limited food choices was actually when Lynn was out.
yes.
Yeah, so she's back now, and I know Tommy, who's one of the program supervisors at Thrive 55, she's in charge of the volunteers, and from my understanding, the volunteers that help out in the kitchen are pretty reliable.
Mhm.
and there's not many days when there isn't a volunteer available. And it's only when, Lynn is out that it becomes a problem, a challenge to deliver food or have the food choices available that you normally do.
And that's why we need that other part-time worker.
Yeah, and it is posted, but it doesn't say, sometimes it doesn't say, but sometimes they leave it up until filled. Other times they set a date. They'll say, the closing date for this is 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, and they give a specific date, but it doesn't for on this particular posting.
So, Elizabeth, I just wonder if there is anything the commission can do to expedite the hiring, because hiring typically it takes time.
Well, that's kind of why I wanted to keep it on the agenda, just to make sure we have eyes on the situation. If there is something we can do.
Yeah, I don't know how the council or the commission can expedite the process. Everything goes through HR. Once there's a deadline, they look over all of the applications, and then generally they get sent to, well, they'll probably go to Mary Jo, who's the supervisor at Thrive, and she'll set up a small interview panel, and then the folks get called in. There's usually 2 rounds of interviews, and then once a conditional offer is sent, it's usually doing the background check and the drug test and whatnot. Takes about 2 weeks. So the entire process can take upwards of 6 weeks. So if we haven't closed, if the application deadline hasn't closed, then I would say by the next commission meeting, we still will not have somebody in place.
What about priorities? Well, I assume there are multiple positions to be hired. So do you know if HR would prioritize position A versus position B or C? This is the highest priority.
Yeah, so I can tell you right now, we're trying to hire a director of public works, and that's probably priority number one.
Okay.
A part-time kitchen worker and there are a number of other open positions. I can say that that is probably not one of the higher priorities of all
Got
the
it.
positions available, of all the open positions. Yeah.
Which, while I can respect, I think as commissioners, we can keep the focus on the need for this worker for some of the clients who are receiving our services. And that's why I'm proposing we keep an eye on it, make sure it's moving.
Okay.
Sounds good. I think the last agenda item then is the letter. So it's in the last page. Hang on. Page 34. Yeah. So this was what we had discussed last meeting. So this was kind of me thinking a little bit. I had attended a couple of there was a couple town council meetings last year talking about sales of old schools and different things, proposals on both sides, right? So where my head went is not to say that as a commission we are saying to go sell or not to sell properties, but where my head went was I didn't see a lot of especially there's a lot of debate on the oral school, right? Not trying to bring that into this commission, but I think that it would be good as this commission saying, hey, if the town decides to go path A or B, they can make that decision on their own through the town council, right? If they decide to sell it, I think that we should recommend some of the sale contingencies, I'll say for lack of a better term, that would promote Parks and Rec and open space based upon the reports we had. So that was where my head was going when I wrote this. So say, the town decides to do nothing, nothing happens. If the town decides to sell it, they have some permutations that this recommendation would give them that they could put in as clauses, stipulations. The legal people behind the scenes would word it, appropriately. But this would be the recommendation to the council, if we all agree, right? So I put something down, Mark put it in here, basically high level. What was written is what I personally wrote, and then the red was kind of some markup to say, hey, some good feedback. So really, that's the high level. The intent was we talk about it tonight. If we are not unified, we drop the topic. If we are unified, maybe we vote on this to send it to the town council. I would say that we'd probably put it on some like official letterhead and just format it, but the content wouldn't change. So that's the proposal on the table, but feedback is welcome. Right now, there's no motion or anything. It's just discussion. It may go to a motion, but let's start with discussion. Over.
Mike, I would suggest taking a close look at Amanda Kraus' letter and perhaps incorporating some of her points about this.
So so I did read her email. So what I took away from the email, and others can comment on what their takeaway was, that her email is basically saying, hey, that she wants to keep the properties entirely owned by the town. So that's okay, but if you want to sell it to a developer, that no developer in their right mind would keep the property owned by the town. And why would a developer, like someone's put a house on their condo, like they're gonna have to pay taxes to the town? So her proposal was the property should remain 100% in town asset, which is okay. You could do that, but then none of this in this letter would apply because it wouldn't have been a sold property. The town could choose to remake it into a park, and basically nothing in this letter would apply. So I guess I don't know how I correlate her letter to this, because in hers it would just be keep it 100% of town property. And I don't know how you would do that if you're trying to develop it to sell it.
Well, unfortunately, I only had a few minutes to go over her letter, but I thought that the point she was making about open space remaining the property of the town was really critical. And I'm speaking as a resident of District 4, the northwest corner, where schools have been sold and we've been deprived of open space. And I hate to see that continue.
Were we even
agreed.
asked for an opinion on this, or is this just? I'm just curious.
So we were not asked. No one asked for this. This was me sitting at a bunch of those meetings and seeing a lack of this type of thing put into potential sale proposals. So basically, if we do nothing, right, the town decides to sell it, they may put no stipulations for any open space in there. My thought was, well, in a lot of the reports, people talked about having community playgrounds and how that was important, right? So the town could choose to sell it, the developer could choose to put a playground in or choose to do nothing. So, and that would be, as a parks, we'd have no say in it. This was hey, I think from all reports, we want some type of park or open space if the town did decide to sell it. This proposal would be, hey, this is the type of recommendation we have.
Yeah, I like the thought of this, Mike. I think it's a little early for us to just adopt what you've said and push it forward in a formal letterhead. I think it's gonna. I honestly think it's like a working group situation. I think it's a really good. I like I love the proactiveness and putting something out there because I think it's important. My worry, I guess, right out of the cuff is like, if even just sending this letter, are we saying, is it sort of like tacit approval that we think they should sell? Like, I am reluctant to, I just think there's a lot of different sides. And I think there's subdivision regulations that have mandated open space requirements. I think personally for me, I think having a position on it or having some metric or some guidepost for the town would be helpful from a Parks and Rec perspective. But I think for me, it's a little early to just push forward exactly what's been written. I'd like to think about it and look at the regs.
Yeah. So, and I guess what I'd ask is if we think that we don't want to vote in tonight, I'd ask if we think we come to consensus that we think we want to move forward. Maybe the ask is then all the commissioners read through this, provide feedback so that we have written documented, like, hey, everyone's thoughts. If you think that you need to have some type of session or feedback session, like with the public, that's doable. I guess I'd want to almost say if we agree that we want to move forward, kind of what's our path to closure, right? And it doesn't mean it has to be a week from now, but like if we agree, right? Like I don't want it to be like, hey, it's a nice topic, but then 3 months later we didn't do anything. So like if we agree we want to do something, what's our thought on next steps? That would be my ask.
What does everybody else think?
I think these are big issues that even the town council has problems with. I don't know if it's something we should even be getting involved in.
And also, I believe there are a lot of regulation, ordinance, and that kind of thing dictate who's supposed to do what and who can use what park, um, that kind of thing. I don't know. Um, and actually, I read the letter, for example, the second bullet point. If you developed into a townhouse, you got an HOA, you're talking about letting all the residents to use a park that's inside a complex, but typically a park would be built based on the demand coming from whatever number of units living there, right? People live there. And if you try to let everybody else use it, I mean, do we have a demand issue? Do we have a safety issue if it's too crowded? And also, if you happen to live there, you happen to own a townhouse. If I happen to live there, and if it's coming from my HOA fees, in a way, is that fair for someone else not living there to use the facility over there? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud.
Why don't we just refer the letter to town council? Let them deal with it.
Refer Ms. Krause's?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that all of our correspondence is certainly part of the record. Is that socialized up the chain, Mark?
I don't think so. They
Yeah.
get a lot of stuff. Probably
Yeah.
should go to the town manager, to the outside council, and then to the town council.
Yeah,
Right.
so Jim, her letter had nothing so this was something I came up with. Her letter came in response because she saw this in the packet. So just so
Yeah.
that you're clear, it's not
Yeah.
her letter was just, hey, I saw this as an legitimate item. I want to give you feedback on it. It wasn't just so that you understand the context.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I recognize her name, and I know she has. Um, I'm sure that she has sent letters to the town manager and to the council
Yep.
Already, and probably more than one.
Got it. Okay. Well, I think we're here. I've heard two things, right? One is like, kind of, do we leave it alone completely, or do we think about it? And I think at the very least, maybe we should just, as a group, think about it to decide if we want to leave it alone or advance something for next meeting. Let's read, unless everyone has a definitive opinion.
I think that we need to have a position as a commission on the use of open space or recently acquired open space, by closing the school, because part of our role is to advise the town council. So if we have a position and we can agree on it, then we can provide the council with our position.
That's it. So key takeaway, I think, is maybe we just go around table and say, is it something we think we want to pursue? And I would say, regardless of what we send them, the town council could choose to accept it or just take what we proposed, set and said, we don't agree with it at all. I don't say trash can it, but they could choose to do that. It's not written any law. Obviously, they have regulations they have to follow anyway from planning and zoning, regardless of what the recommendation that comes in here is. So maybe we just go around, commission by commission and say, is there an interest to comment or develop this further or drop the issue? Maybe we just do a roundtable on that, and then based upon the feedback there, we decide to add it to next agenda or drop it off and leave be. So maybe we'll just start there. I propose to move forward because I wrote it obviously, but Elizabeth's thoughts, we'll just go one by one and just I think that'll give us a good flavor of do we do something or leave the issue.
I think we should develop a position statement.
I'm sorry, say that again?
I believe we should develop a position statement.
Terry?
Well, I thought this is really complex. To do this, I was wondering, so we only meet once a month, and I don't think that's sufficient to tackle this. In my ideal world, it would really be nice if we have like a subgroup. We can meet, I don't know, maybe once a month as well, in addition to this meeting, just to look at the details, look at what kind of issues that we are really dealing with, and we can some sort of come up with a conceptual plan to address this, to figure out if it's feasible, that kind of thing. So form a subgroup to tackle this. If we try to look at this once a month, it's just not possible because we have so many other things to do. That's just my thought.
Okay. From a feedback perspective, would you want to champion like I would be glad to meet on there? Is that something you want to champion like a subgroup meeting?
Yeah, I would, yeah.
Okay, so kind of like you think we need a little more attention, but you're interested to pursue it, but with the caveat you need a little more attention than the regular meetings type thing.
Just need a little more time to dig into it to see what we're dealing with.
Okay.
Is it worth our time, and how would it benefit residents and that kind of thing? And once we got all that sorted out, boom, we can jump on it.
Sure. All right. That makes sense. Hang on, I'm just making some. Someone was saying something?
Yes.
Sorry, it was my phone.
Feedback, I think.
All right, Megan?
Yeah, I agree with Terry and Elizabeth. And your position in that I do think it's worth. I think we're at a unique opportunity with just the state of affairs with with these school properties, and that we should, as a Parks and Rec, develop this position, but it does need a little bit more time than our regular meeting. So I agree with the comments that have been voiced so far, and I'm happy to participate.
Okay, Jim?
Oh, I suggest that we not study it and just refer it to the town council and to the town manager and to outside counsel.
Okay. So kind of from everyone's feedback, I think there was four that we think we should study it, not ready to make any decision, and one not study it. So based upon that, I would almost recommend that for the time being, maybe we do a subgroup meeting. And Terry, maybe you could set one up in the next 2 weeks. That I don't mind taking some time whether we meet virtually. I have Zoom and platforms that I can utilize if we need be, or if you want to just meet at the library or something. I'm glad to do that to discuss next steps and how we think we tackle it. Discussion between us or any external input we need. I'm glad to also be a part of that. So that'd be my proposal based upon what we heard tonight.
Mike, I'm just going to weigh in. The only thing that I need to check with is if there's 4 members of the Parks and Rec Commission meeting, does that become another Parks and Rec Commission meeting? And I just need to
just check.
figure that out before we have anything official, because we may have to post
Okay.
the meeting and yeah, so, but I will add that to my list of things that I gotta do.
So maybe we'll just leave it at this, Mark. You send that
Yeah.
email to everyone. If the answer comes back that has to be an official meeting, no action until next meeting, and we figure out logistics. If the answer
Yeah.
comes back that it doesn't need to be a quote unquote official meeting, Terry, maybe sometime in the next 2 weeks, just propose a date out to the four of us to meet, or five of us. I don't care if everyone comes, to have some next discussion. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yep.
Got it.
Okay. Any new items that was not on the agenda that anyone wants to bring up before we close?
Oh, I got one. I've been wondering about the walking trail outside Thrive 55 Plus. I haven't seen anything about that item.
Oh, you're talking from Thrive 55 out behind the library?
Yep.
Yeah, that is a public works project. With a foot or more of snow now, I doubt that project is going to start until until the snow clears. And yeah, I
Okay,
don't.
so that project still exists. It's not been
Oh yeah,
it-
no, that project still exists. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Because it used to be in your report, but I haven't seen it now, so I was just wondering.
Yeah, no, it still exists. Public Works has not said they weren't going to do it. Um, it, it, with the current weather conditions, they won't be starting that project until the snow is gone. And
Good.
yeah,
All right. Floor's open. Anyone else? All right, Mark, next meeting, date, and is it virtual in person, just so that everyone's grounded? Do you have that in front of you?
next meeting is a joint meeting with the Golf Advisory Board. It will start at 5:30 instead of 5 because there's members of the Golf Advisory Board that can't start at 5.
And when is it, date-wise?
25th.
Yeah, I think that's February 25th. Yes, February 25th.
Okay. I'll make a motion to close the meeting and adjourn then.
I'll second that.
Second? Yep.
All right, everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, have a good night, all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take care,
Bye,
guys. Bye-bye.
everyone.
Good night.